Greetings and happy 4th of July, everyone. My name is Dominic, and today you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And as I just mentioned, if you are watching this video upon release, it is Independence Day here in the States, and to commemorate this holiday, of course I had to talk about the Star-Spangled Man with a Plan, Captain America. To do that, I've prepared this quick list video for all of you, 5 must-read Captain America comic books. Of course, in his long and prestigious history, there are so many books to draw from, but here's just a handful from my library. I can't wait to talk about them today. Before we do, though, just a quick shout out to the channel sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com. If you're looking to pick up your own comic book collected editions, perhaps some Captain America books, I encourage you to check out their website. You can find a link to them in the video's description, and if you see anything on the site you like, you can actually use my discount code at checkout, TheComicBookReport, to save $2 off of your order. Please note if you use my affiliate link or code to make a purchase, I will earn a small commission, but it's probably the best way to support this channel. Thank you so much for considering. Now let's get started with today's Captain America list. First up, in no particular order, we're going to be looking at Captain America by Ed Brubaker Omnibus Volume 1. This is the first volume of a 5-volume omnibus set collecting the entirety of the Ed Brubaker era on Cap. This was one of my first Captain America comics or runs. I used to have this in, I think, paperback edition for a lot of this run. I'm so happy I was able to slowly upgrade to omnibus over the last couple years and some of the reprints. I do believe at the time of the recording, this actual volume might be currently out of print, but fingers crossed that we see a reprint soon for those that want to pick it up. Why I think this is a fantastic Captain America comic is that it really is just a gold standard for me. I know there are a lot of other great Captain America runs for me, but to me, no one has ever done it better than Ed Brubaker, at least that I've encountered thus far. There is just a real maturity and seriousness to his Captain America book. It feels extremely character grounded. It feels immersive and just really, it's just tight, well paced, and just, man, it just has this quality that feels very lived in. The world feels absolutely true, and that is also in part due to the incredible artists we have during this run. In this book, I know artists like Steve Epting in particular, I think really does a great job of filling out this world. But this first omnibus kicks off with the larger story arc, The Winter Soldier, which of course went on to be adapted in an MCU film, one of my favorite MCU films in fact, and probably or debatably one of my absolute favorite Captain America stories of all time. This run also has a feeling of international espionage, thriller, vigilantism, sure, but more than that, just kind of like a spy thriller. You feel like you're in kind of a James Bond movie that was blended with a superhero vigilante kind of book. There's a lot of darkness and grit to this as well. It feels very, very it has such palpable stakes in it. You feel this kind of essence of geopolitics as well. It's not preachy or overly political, but you see a lot of the kind of global games being played throughout this run, and how Captain America, S.H.I.E.L.D., and team try to navigate all that. How they try to stop the forces of Hydra and other villainous fiends, and it just really works for me. Like I said, it takes itself so seriously, and it pays off. There's a maturity here. There's a really, you feel like you're reading an adult comic, and the fact that it happens to be printed by Marvel, it's just the cherry on top. I absolutely love this run. I think it's perfect for new readers and a real blast for returning readers as well. I think Brubaker really honors the legacy and roots of Captain America while really adding to the mythos of this character in some truly meaningful ways. This feels like a contemporary vision of Captain America, and it just works. It works across the board, and even though this entire run, I believe, is pretty darn solid, this first volume really is the high mark for me. I just absolutely adore it. Next on our list today is admittedly a book I'm still making my way through, but this is Captain America Omnibus Volume 1. This is the Silver Age Captain America solo book, not to be confused with the Golden Age Captain America, which has his earliest adventures during like World War II era. No, this comic came out in the 60s, and it really has such a fun feel for it. This is the height of the Silver Age here. This is actually one of my most wanted Silver Age books that I just just got in my collection this year, so I was really eager to show it off in this video. This is at a time where Captain America, for the most part, was sharing a billing in a book with Iron Man, so a lot of the issues you have, especially at the beginning of this omnibus, are shared with Iron Man, and you don't have the Iron Man portions. So a lot of these stories are maybe 12 pages or so in length, so we have some really tight, well-paced issues that go back to back. They feel very episodic. Some stories have maybe 1 or 2 issues kind of tying into a story arc, maybe 3, but a lot of kind of standalone episodic adventures. And what I love in this collection is we have a really good sense of movement. Captain America is such an interesting character where at times he doesn't really have any powers, or he has that super soldier serum that brings him up to like Olympic level athlete or maybe a little bit beyond, but he feels very human, especially to a lot of his superpowered colleagues. He feels, I don't want to say mundane because he's still extraordinary, but there is something more human about him, and humane certainly, with his moralism and values. And I love to see the way Jack Kirby in particular drew the action sequences. Like, you really understood the flow of motion, and there's something acrobatic and interesting about Captain America as well, the movements with the shield, and that's all really on display here. As far as creators, I should have mentioned it's written predominantly by Stan Lee, with art primarily by Jack Kirby and a little bit of Jim Steranko. I really love seeing this stuff, though. I mean, it's a classic period for Marvel history. This, of course, takes place after Captain America was found and thawed from the ice in Avengers, I think issue 4, if I'm not mistaken. When he went on to have a solo series, this is where it picks up here in this book. I know there are a lot of people that watch my channel that won't go all the way back to the Silver Age of comics. They prefer things a bit more modern, maybe 80s, 90s, or some even after the 2000s. But I know there's a lot of comic book fans like myself that will go back and read some of the classics just for that feeling of when comic books were comic, kind of the 4-color, I just love it. There's something so nostalgic about it. Jack Kirby is such a legend, Stan Lee as well, and to have this preserved in this omnibus format, it's just a real dream for me. This was a huge collecting goal, and even as I'm reading through it, there's something just quintessential Captain America about the entire experience. To that end, I do consider a volume like this a must-read Captain America work. And hey, if you're enjoying this video and you've yet to subscribe to the channel, I would just like to invite you to do so. I'm always doing comic book based list videos like this, reviews, unboxings, shorts, interviews, and more. Thank you for considering. Now on with the show. Next up on our must-read Captain America list is maybe a controversial choice, but this is the Captain America by Ta-Nehisi Coates Omnibus. Another modern Captain America run that takes place fairly soon after the Nick Spencer era on Captain America. I know the Nick Spencer era got a 2-volume omnibus set, so you can omnibus-wise slot this in directly afterward. This run I didn't know much about, honestly. I didn't realize that some didn't enjoy how Coates chose to adapt Captain America, but I really loved this run. And treading softly on spoilers for this collection and the preceding run with Nick Spencer, basically Captain America is in a really unusual position. He has kind of the court of public opinion really turning on him, or have turned on him, and he's trying to in some ways save face, but also just do what's right when everyone's kind of against him. It really puts Captain America in this position of being an underdog instead of this kind of moral paragon that everyone looks to with hope. They're kind of looking at him with unease or betrayal, or so many complex feelings, again, as a ramification of what happened during Nick Spencer's run. And I really enjoyed that for Captain America, because you got to see where he was at when the chips were down and everything was against him. Does he still uphold what he stands for and his values? And I'm happy to report that he does, and he's still Captain America, and he still pursues what he believes is right, and he stands up for it. And that is just so Captain America to me, and that's something about this run I really did enjoy quite a bit, was seeing how Captain America operated when a lot of people were just against him, and he had to stay true to who he was. I just enjoyed that. This was also my first exposure to Coates in comics, and I know when I reviewed this omnibus on my channel, I had a lot of people recommend his run on Black Panther. Since that review, I did go ahead and read the full Ta-Nehisi Coates Black Panther run. I reviewed that on the channel as well. Really enjoyed both of these runs. I think that they're really fun to read together. Not that there's a ton of interstitial tissue between them, but there is something about reading them both that is fun. I know there are definitely ties between Captain America and Black Panther, so the fact that we have a creator that did kind of extensive runs on both, it's just pretty novel and fun. Anyway, going back to this run though, there's a lot of great artists attached to this run as well. I just really enjoyed my time here. We got a lot of great supporting cast for Captain America, like Sharon Carter, who in many ways steals a lot of the show. I really love how Ta-Nehisi Coates chose to just really give even more agency to Sharon Carter. I felt like a lot of her scenes with Steve were some of my favorite in this whole book. I do think this run is a bit underrated. I don't hear enough people talking about it. I really think a lot of people maybe haven't read this or haven't delved deeper into it. I hear a lot more love, obviously, for Brubaker or even Nick Spencer. I'm seeing a lot more people come around to that, especially with the release of the omnibuses, and I really do like what I've read of that run as well, but I just don't want this one to be forgotten because there's a lot of great stories here, a lot of great art here, and like I said, particularly because we get to see Steve as the underdog again. We get to see him with what feels like the world against him, and will he still fight for right? Will he still stand his ground? And I just love it. It feels like Captain America to me. Next on this list is another run I'm still making my way through, but I have to talk about it already because I am enjoying what I've read. This is Captain America by Rick Remender, Omnibus. This run is packed out. I cannot believe how much ground Remender covers in this run. We start with that Dimension Z storyline, which has Captain America, well, just out of his element to say the least. We have some really transitional periods for Steve Rogers in this book as well. I really don't want to spoil too much, but we do have him passing the mantle over to the Falcon, Sam Wilson, in the pages of this book. So if you're a fan of Sam Wilson's Captain America, as well as Steve Rogers' Captain America, this is a really pivotal run. I of course know Remender from some of his other runs like Uncanny X-Force, which I really did love. When I heard that he did a pretty well regarded Captain America run, I knew I was definitely interested. I was able to pick up this omnibus while it was still in print, and like I said, I've really enjoyed the ride so far. One of the lead artists on this book, of course, is the incredible John Romita Jr. I know his stylization is quite unique, but I've come to really enjoy a good handful of his artwork over time. Not everything hits for me, but I think what we have here in the pages of Captain America is honestly some of the strongest stuff I've seen from him. I think a lot of his art really jumps off the page. This is another creator that I really enjoy how he portrays movement. It just works for me. There's something about it. I also think Romita has such a novel way to portray faces, particularly. I think all the characters have a real texture to them. There's kind of a blockiness to them that I just feel like all their expressions, their micro expressions, just have a lot of life to them, and they really don't blend in with a lot of other contemporary comic book artists, and I really love his work for that. I think that this run is a must-read for a couple reasons. I think Remender is just a terrific comic book writer as a general rule, or at least I could say a lot of what I've read from him thus far I have enjoyed, although my knowledge of his work is by no means exhaustive. I would appreciate some recommendations from Remender. If you happen to be a fan, let me know in the comments. But another reason as well is, again, we have the introduction of the Sam Wilson Captain America in this run, so this is a really pivotal time in the history of Captain America and for Captain America, seeing yet another person take up the shield and the mantle. I really do like this. I think that this was definitely brought to my mind recently as well, watching Captain America Brave New World, which is the first Captain America film focusing on the Sam Wilson Captain America. So I think that's just been kind of stewing in the back of my mind. When I thought about doing this video, I thought that this had to be a run I would showcase. I also think because I haven't finished this run completely, I haven't shown it much on this channel. I think a couple videos here and there, so I thought it'd be fun to showcase for Captain America. I would like to hear in the comments as well, have you read Captain America by Rick Remender? Do you like this run overall? What are some of your favorite Captain America runs? And have I talked about them on this video or not? Anyway, let me know, and let's go ahead and finish out this list. And rounding out the list today for must-read Captain America comics, yes, I'm breaking the rule of my own prompt. We're going to be talking about Avengers by Jonathan Hickman. This is the Omnibus Volume 1 of a 2-volume omnibus set, collecting the entirety of Hickman's run on Avengers. Then, of course, now we also have the Secret Wars Omnibus, which is kind of the culmination of this omnibus run. At any rate, I did want to talk about this through the lens of a Captain America book. Again, yes, I know it is an Avengers comic, I know it's a team book, but Captain America does feature heavily in it. I did finish this omnibus recently, so it is fresh in my mind. I do plan to release a full review of this book, if I haven't yet already, on the channel soon. Stay tuned. But yes, why do I think this is a fun Captain America book? I really like the way Captain America was portrayed here. Yes, this is Captain America functioning in the Team Avengers and I wanted to make sure that was showcased in this video. I think the rest of my choices were just solo titles, solo series Captain America, but to see him functioning in the Avengers, he's such an Avengers mainstay that I had to have that somewhere in this list. And I love this run because it's contemporary, it's heavily leaning on things like science fiction, and it's just massively scoped. I think there's a lot of other books on this very list video that are more episodic in nature or smaller story arcs, but what we have with Hickman is just this sprawling epic, and then we have it here in the pages of Avengers, and I just really dig it. We also, and again, without going into too many spoilers, we have Captain America being one of the team leads for Avengers in a period where they boast a really impressive and revolving roster. The Avengers don't really have a clear and concrete lineup. It's more of a huge pool of Avengers, and on any given mission, they'll pull from a couple to go on whatever that given adventure is. I really enjoyed this. I think this was a really fresh way to keep the book interesting as you get to see more of the dynamics at play between kind of eclectic or different groupings of characters. And yet, with all that in mind, Captain America was still a main player in a lot of these teams. I love to see his leadership potential, especially when he's surrounded by more obviously super powered beings on the team or that he's fighting against. It's still fun to see his grit and his courage in the face of all of that, especially in this leadership position. I think to understand Captain America, we every so often have to see him in light of a team, and that's absolutely why I put this on the list today. I also really enjoyed how Hickman presented the Illuminati, the kind of elite superhero kind of hidden group that kind of puppet masters the direction of a lot of the world or the threats. We have Captain America initially in that group, and then something happens in the pages of this book where he is really not able to have a seat at that table, and how that kind of unwinds and unravels throughout this run, I also thought was a really, really novel concept. Again, I don't want to go into too many spoilers here, but I thought the way Captain America was handled in this book was just pretty excellent. He wasn't always center stage, but he was almost always around. And to see the way he inspired those around him, it just feels like an absolutely great representation of who Captain America is. Alright, and that's going to go ahead and start wrapping up our video today on 5 must-read Captain America comic books. Yes, that does include my one Avengers Omnibus in this video. Thank you for indulging me even as I played a little bit fast and loose with my own rules there. But yes, this was a really fun video to put together. As able, I love to try to present videos that are kind of festive or topical, especially with holidays, and here in the States, this is the 4th of July. This is Independence Day. When I think about that through the lens of comics, I of course think about Captain America. I really had a blast putting together this list video, and there were of course a ton of runs I was not even able to speak to in the course of this video, like Mark Waid's run or Gruenwald's, or just the list goes on and on and on. But these were some of my favorite Captain America series or moments, but I'd love to hear some of yours. What were some of your favorite Captain America moments or runs or even films, maybe things I didn't bring up in the course of this video, or are your favorites amongst my selections, and why did you enjoy those? Let me hear all about it in the comments section, and thank you so much for watching today. And whether you celebrate this holiday or not, whether you're in the States or not, I just hope you're having a great day, and until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to leave your like, that comment we talked about, and maybe share the video with a friend. Thanks everyone, bye.